Now we start with the actual adventurous part. So I welcome Annika Stensson Trögell, who will moderate this part. And while you are introducing, I will hook up Ingrid. So.
Okay, then I also ask you in the audience to open your Mentimeter, to download from App Store if you got, and get some questions. It will be interesting to see how you think you will answer the questions compared to what our invited guests think about the different problems. And then you also need to enter the code 486097 to get to the questionnaire. So we have invited some guests. And the reason is that, as you've seen, we have a joint strategy for the transport platform, and we really want to see other people's view on it. We have made it mainly for ourselves to join the KTH researchers, but of course we want to get a view from the outer side. So from the invited guests, we have Ingrid Skogsmo that is about to coming there. Hey Ingrid! From DG Research in Brussels. That's also where you're coming from Brussels. I will just also invite the three others, and so you can come and sit in front. The other guests are Tony Sandberg from Scania. We have Johan Wallin from Vattenfall, Johan Tholin and Erik Wallin from Baggage. Now I realize I'm talking Swedish and I should be talking English. Sorry. So, what I asked them was that read through our strategic document, based on your knowledge and experience, reflect on it, and really think about what are future hot topics within transport. And also, if we look at the picture over there, we have been talking about the holistic transport system, transport infrastructure, to vehicle concepts, and so on. But all the white thing in the middle is connecting everything. So, for example, safety and security, it connects everything. It's important both for the vehicles, it's important for the policy, it's important for the infrastructure, and so on. So therefore, we have tried to focus on these aspects. So Ingrid will start, and your focus is especially on the safety and security part. So then I will give the word to you, and I will try to click on the presentation for your slides.
Now work with the Commission and work mainly with automated driving and also road safety. So that is my background in going into this discussion here today. If you take the first slide, which is not just the title slide.
Yes, we'll be talking about effects of transport. It's easy that we talk about the dangerous things within the environment or with safety and security. But I saw an investigation that for public transport, for example, here in Stockholm, about 6% of the people traveling in the public transport find their respective partner in the system. So it's also have very socially really, really good consequences. So we're thinking about this automated system, if we have this fully thing that you go in your own vehicle by the sense, maybe then we don't meet each other and then we don't get these positive effects out of it. So it's always a mix of all these characteristics. We go with the next speaker. Okay. Then we will make a quick change here and invite instead Tony.
Thank you, Annika. Tony Sandberg, Research Director of Scania. So I will give you some slides about the future. Scania R&D, we are located in Södertälje, about 3,500 employees at R&D only. Every year we employ around 200-300 new engineers, so there's plenty of room for all of you. We're looking forward to that. We need skilled engineers. And also at Scania, to mention here, is that we have a culture, we will build a lot of trust in our employees. We let our employees work with many aspects of the product and the customer problems at the same time. This picture will illustrate that you can work with future products, meaning products that will be launched in the market in the next 2, 3, 4 years. You will also be able to work with future products in terms of research, 10, 15 years from now. But you will also meet the customer which has troubles with the current product, the product that we launched a couple of years ago or 10 years ago. He needs a solution. You will see many aspects of the problems, and we strongly believe in the integration into the individuals, combine synergies between these processes. And also important to mention is Scania is not a truck producer anymore. We are a transport provider company, a solution provider of sustainable transport. The more and more we are talking to our customers. We're talking to ICA, Coop, and others that buy transport services to understand why they buy them, what they would like to change, in order to help our current customers, the haulage companies, to earn more money, understand the entire system of transport. And as research director, I need a way to figure out what the future will be like. And we have identified a structure of tools where we start with the future transport scenarios. They identify what the future might look like in 2030. It might be a green environment where everybody think about the environment and take care of the resources. It might be in a world where everybody thinks about money, short-term thinking, next quarter. Or it might be a world where we have fights, wars about the resources. Not only oil, but minerals and other resources that we need. Those who have, they will be wealthy, and those who don't have, they will be poor. We try to combine these future scenarios into what we believe the needs of our future customer will be like. Scania has a tradition of being the haulage company, the driver-owner company, the king of the road concept. But in the future, it might be a Chinese businessman owning 200 trucks or 2,000 trucks. Has never driven one, has never seen a truck. We need to understand how we make business with him. And after that, in this chain, we try to identify what kind of future solutions do we need to develop and derive. Might be electrified road trains, autonomous vehicles for mining, or some kind of services through the connected system, or a combination. After that, the next step in the chain is what we call the technology roadmap. What kind of technologies do we think that we need to develop these kind of products and services in the future? I will give you a short example of those. And we have 7 categories. Starting from the bottom, you can say data utilization or digitalization, connectivity, as many words, but using all the data from the connected vehicles. Scania has already today 180,000 trucks connected to the internet. We have a lot of data already now, and this will grow. So here is a lot about data mining, how we use this data, but also, of course, data security. How do we protect the value of this? HMI, or user experience, is important, even if we remove the cabin and the driver from the truck. This only means that we will move the driver interface to somewhere else, to a control tower, where it might be even more difficult to understand what the vehicle is doing or what is happening now. This will still be important. Material and design, the new materials, making the components lighter and stronger, of course, and interacting with the design methods and production capabilities. Electrification, of course. You have seen pictures of electrified highways. Here it's a lot about batteries, performance, electrical machines, but also start to look into fuel cell technology. So here would happen a lot. Vehicle propulsion is what we call the traditional powertrain with a combustion engine. It can still be more efficient. It needs to be more efficient. And it needs to be able to run on more fuels. Alternative fuels or sustainable fuels, locally produced in the world. Automation, to be able to operate vehicles with or without the driver. On roads or outside the roads in mining applications, or even in the cities as we try to do in Kista in a couple of years. Transport solutions is when we look at the business ecosystem for mobility and transport. Looking into how do we make this more efficient. Could be bigger and stronger trucks, shown in pictures, or it could be that we can use the trucks during nighttime, as we do here in Stockholm. We have a special permit to able to operate them during nights, but then they need to be more silent. So here we try to combine different aspects and technologies to improve the operation of the system. And of course, you can make this simplified. You can say that we still need to be good in this, what we call base technologies, where Scania is today and traditionally has been good. As I said, the combustion engine, the powertrain efficiency, aerodynamics, rolling resistance, new materials, HMI, and software, of course. We still need to be very good and best in the world in all of these areas. But we can also say that we have some game-changing technologies that could change the business and the world for Scania. Automated vehicles could be one of those. We are today the drivers shows, but what if the driver does not exist in this ecosystem? Who purchases the trucks then? Is this the business guy from the head office? And also here, who controls these vehicles? If the driver don't control them, who controls them? Is it Saab or Ericsson or some telecom company controlling the fleet? We don't know yet. Electrified vehicles, it is a clean technology, at least in Sweden where we have clean electricity, but it's very, very expensive. And is there a way to break this cost curve by designing the vehicles completely different, like Tesla is doing? They have the difference compared to all other car makers that they don't design the vehicles for a combustion engine. Start from a blank sheet of paper. I know that they don't make any profits yet, but perhaps someone finds a way to do this to make profit. And connected vehicles. This is a huge possibility to use all of this data. But in this field, we will meet new competitors like IBM or Google or others. That's rather easy today, can collect almost the same kind of data that we can. They are more used to designing services than we are. So here we need to find a way to interact and collaborate with them, bring value to the customers. This can also be applied to the automated vehicles. If Saab or Ericsson are controlling the vehicles, meaning that Scania will lose the contact with the customer. This is the key element for Scania today, knowing and understanding the customer so that we can improve his business. If we lose this, we will just be a commodity. This is really important for us. But everything is not about technologies, business challenges as well. This picture will illustrate to the left, buses. Our customers, they don't want to buy buses anymore. They want to buy bus systems. It means that they would like to buy 50 to 100 buses from us, but they would also like us to deliver the bus system. Bus stops, the infrastructure, the ticketing system, the bus planning routes, everything. And that puts a lot of effort on us. In the middle, we have what we call high-capacity transport. There we have the trials for 32-meter long vehicles in Sweden. They can weigh up to 74 tons or even up to 90 tons. This is not the MOT technology, but we're using this, we can transport 2 semi-trailers with 1 tractor instead of 2. This improves economy, improves the environment for our customers. But then we need permits for this. Now we come into the policy area. We need to find a way with the policymakers to allow this step in development. Currently we work with them trying to identify if we have dedicated routes and monitoring systems using the connected vehicles. Can it then be allowed? There we are today. Below you can see a schematic picture of a tractor and a semi-trailer where we try to hybridize or electrify the trailer. putting a battery and electric motor on the trailer instead of on the tractor. This will also change the business system. Who will propel what? How will we design the interfaces, and how will we pay for the energy transfer between the tractor and the trailer, since they are owned by different companies? And as I said, automated vehicles will be a system of systems, but equally much also the electrified highway. We will deliver the trucks. Someone else, perhaps Vattenfall, will deliver the electrified the energy to the system and build a road system. But they will also need safety systems, payment systems, and other stakeholders in this system that don't really exist yet. They need to step up and make themselves appearable. Finally, we have been talking about the Integrated Transport Research Lab. This is something Scania initiated 1.5 years ago, and now we have Ericsson on board. And this is one of the conclusions from my pictures, that we have realized we cannot solve all problems ourselves. By working with the vehicles, we can only solve part of the problems. We need to work with the infrastructure at the same time. We need to work with the policies at the same time, and the services. And we need to start with the needs of the society. So the instructions to this research center is to start with the needs of the society, then look at the business models. We are not allowed to start to work with the technologies from the beginning, as we normally do. We need to start with the needs and the business models, and then see, do we need to change the policies? Is there technology for this? What do we need to change? So this is a new way for us to work together with you. Looks very promising. I'm very glad that we have all the transport platform here, because you are all the stakeholders that we need. And all of you are needed. Thank you.
Very much. You really illustrated a lot that we all need all those parts in the transport platform. Thank you a lot for that. We had a tricky question. If we're looking at the platooning case, we saw that it might be a lot of different type of vehicles on the same type of roads, owned by different people, and you were talking about the cost function, the policy, and also the infrastructure that might be different in different countries. What do you think would be the main obstacle for implementing this type of solution?
It's a rather easy question, Annika. With platooning, we started with the technology, with the control strategies and the vehicle-to-vehicle communication. Since we know that this can save fuel consumption, energy, and also increase the capacity of the roads. So we thought this is a good idea. What we didn't solve from the beginning, which we should have done, was the policies. Platooning is, in fact, in Sweden, not allowed and not forbidden. Today it's up to every policeman in the country to judge if this looks dangerous or not, give the drivers a fine. And the situation is scattered across Europe. Some countries is strictly forbidden, some countries is partly allowed. So this is the key question right now. And after that, we have the question of business models. How do we get the customer to pay for this? Perhaps there will be a service to pay for usage, but still, it's new for the Scania marketing department to say, how do we deliver this service or product to the customer? So here we have some challenges left.
A lot of challenges. Yes, thank you very much, Tony. Give him a hand. Then we can see how the audience answer of it. And we see here, it's changing a little. Now we can see it's a lot of different thoughts about it, and I think that's the same as the reality is right now. Now business models also pops up. Good. Thank you all very much for that. Do you think we have Ingrid with us, or? Okay. Then we switch to the next guest. That's Johan Thulin from Vattenfall.
Thank you. Let's see if we could have my pictures. I need something for my remember. First of all, my name is Johan Tholén from Vattenfall. I am in the R&D department. I am head of a program called E-mobility. 2006, there was timing for electrification of transport. That's when we identified that electricity has an important and eventually necessary role to solve all the issues that were put on the transport sectors. And therefore we started our work, and after a couple of years I started with working with mobility full time. 2006, interest in this actually on so many places. Okay, there was not so 2006 there was not so much interest in electrification, but actually we had companies in Sweden like Saab, very much Saab, a while Volvo, Volvo Cars I mean, and then Volvo, AB Volvo with the heavy traffic was actually very interested in this. Could this be a solution? And we started a pre-study, and the result was that Volvo Cars and Vattenfall jointly invested in a development company that developed the powertrain for Volvo plug-in hybrids. So actually Vattenfall invested in car business 2009. A little bit speculative eventually, but it goes really well. And I would say Volvo was very brave, and GM was very active also, started at the same time. And I think that was very important, the timing, because what was happening, the need, policies were that you needed to have a solution on the transport sector. You had some technology issues, that the batteries, and so on. And you know the history of what's happening. It's been a very interesting journey up to now. And what is happening now, you know very much yourself, you're specialist, almost every one of you. So Vattenfall, what's our interest in this? Of course, we think we have the fuel for parts of the system. And our core business is to produce it and distribute it. And the next thing, what is that? Of course, the infrastructure for supplying to the vehicle, the charging infrastructure, that's a natural role for us to develop business in. And of course, we have lots of activities there, but I don't think I should talk that much about that activities, because I would like to talk about your program. And when taking part of your program, I think it's very positive that you really coordinate all your efforts, because this is very important and very difficult. And of course, you know all parts of technology. You have mentioned lots of them today. And I think that's very natural for a high school like Royal Institute of Technology. So I would just like to comment 2 areas that you have put forward here in the program: the holistic approach and the land use issue. And my example for this is a picture from this FFF study, fossil-free heavy transports, some options for that was presented in that study. And this is a vision, you could say, or a guess, or a wish of how the development should be of long-range transport or heavy trucks use of fossil energy in Sweden, going from 2010 to 2050. And if you start from the bottom, we find 2050 renewable fuels, conventional renewable fuels. The next step, the yellow one, that is to change to electricity or hydrogen. The orange one, that is what you save by going to electricity or hydrogen. No, not hydrogen. You don't save energy there. And then you come to the red one. That is measured to increase the efficiency in the system, or in the vehicles, I would say. And that's lots of things. You mentioned platooning, electrification of vehicles, sorry, not electric, but lots of things. And that's what you're working with on your technology side, I would say. But the blue one, that is how to change the total transport system. Because if you see here, you say, we solve the transport issues in a new and more efficient way. I think that is really what should be a very important thing for you to consider. That's where the expectations are. Really find new ways of doing it better. And you, of course, you're working with that, but I think that's perhaps one of the most important and interesting things you could work with and deliver results in. And thinking about your vision, making things move, I think that's splendid. But looking at the future, we should think making only desired things move, because do something even more intelligent than moving, if that's the solution for what people want, or the society wants. Just an idea for you to think what your real vision is. The next thing is urbanization. It's a very, very strong trend globally. And going to the cities, it's extremely hard competition about urban land use. And so the solution is you really have to find new transport system for that. You've been talking to it quite a lot, but you live with a solution and the land that you have today. That's the situation in the world, because it's not so much new build cities. It's just expanding. And if you see that, I think ICT, digitalization and electrification, that is eventually a game changer for the transport business. And we heard here that you have a part of your program on that, and that's extremely important. You could see and what I would eventually see in the future is that you have a really development of vehicles in terms of innovative vehicles, and it's lots of possibilities that you see with the technology that develops and being used. That can have a strong influence on the existing vehicle industries and manufacturers. And that's a very important business and business area for Sweden. So it's important for Sweden really to make sure that our industry develops and our system develops so that we can stay in the game, in front of the game. Thank you.
You can just stay here. When we are talking about the energy or the fossil-free transportation in the future and so on, a lot of people think about the climate conference that was during autumn in Paris, and a lot of people talk very positive about it, and it will make a big change for the climate in the future. What do you think?
Looking back, I think the climate issue has been just not the biggest sole part for development of the new transport system or for electrification. But definitely much stronger in the future, because now it seems to be well, they find that also should be a solution. Otherwise, it's been security of supply, it's been local environmental regulation or problems. Did I say security of supply and so on? So I think it will increase the climate issue. But I would say it hasn't been that very strong globally as one parameter. It's been won by a number of important.
Thank you very much. When we asked the audience here about how climate changes the conditions for future transport, we see also here that it's a lot of different opinions about what are the really important issues, like both here, the change with the climate conference in Paris, that countries will set their own objectives, Also financial support, more transparent control systems. But it's also quite a lot of people that think it will be no change. So we will see. It's a very, very difficult task. We will see what happens there. Okay, thank you very much. Then we continue with, yeah?
Just Johan, just when you give me the opportunity to comment your pictures. When we talk about the blue part here of these piles, help us with this one. Today, 60% of the trucks are running empty. Oh, sorry. 60% are loaded, 40% are empty. And that is, in my opinion, due to the fact of the requirements from the factories of just-in-time deliveries and the fact that you and I purchase things on the internet, but we demand delivery the next morning or at least the next day. So all of these, the blue part, is connected to business models. So help us to solve that.
An excellent introduction to the next talker. Thank you very much, Tony. Welcome, Erik Wallin.
Thank you. Okay, excellent. I'm flattered being here at KTH, along with Vattenfall and Scania, even though Baggage is a bit smaller player than Scania and Vattenfall. I think we have a nice offer now and for the future. As you know, there are 40% of all trucks on the road only are empty, so there is a fantastic opportunity for different types of services to connect to that empty space, and that's where Baggage come in. I have prepared a small presentation to explain what Baggage is. It's not as well known to you guys as some of the other companies here. So, and then go on with what I believe will be the future of different types of services within transportation. So for me, it all started 2014 when I wanted to buy this moped. It was in Gothenburg, me located in Stockholm. I bought it on Blocket. I had a super difficult time getting it to Stockholm. And the reason why I wanted to buy this moped was that I didn't want to use my car to go to work every day. So I wanted to have a lesser effect on the environment when I went to work. But I had to rent a van, fill it up with gas, and drive down to Gothenburg and go back to get this moped. And on the E4 outside of Jönköping, an idea struck me to utilize the empty space in this truck for people, for instance, using Blocket or eBay. And so I could fill it up, and I could even make some money going down there to Gothenburg, or at least pay for the costs that I had for this trip. And I started to investigate what the possibilities were. Is there a business model or business potential here? I spoke to a few researchers here and SEB in order to find out, are there idle capacity on the roads today? You know, I'd worked 10 years in the retail food industry, didn't have any clue about the capacity of trucks or cars, so this was new to me, but found out that 55% of all cars only have one person in them, and with an empty luggage space. And the figure that I got was 1/3 of all trucks on the roads were empty. So it is increasing to 40%. So that was one thing that struck me. And the other was that every day, only on marketplaces in Sweden, there are 500,000 bulky things for sale that Schenker, DHL, PostNord have difficulties getting into their system, where new types of services is needed in order to make that transaction between the buyer and the seller on Blocket or wherever it is happen. So that was the other thing that I found out, and I want to merge these two together. Buyers and sellers on different marketplaces, and then the free capacities and vehicles on the road. So what is baggage today? It's a lot of users or members, call it what you want. And what we do is we put them together through our platform. We have a girl here and a boy, or a woman and a man. This lady doesn't have a car. She doesn't want to own a car. Maybe she doesn't have a driver's license, but still she want to buy those precious items on Bålsta Auktionshall, for instance, that we have a cooperation with, and get it to her doorstep in Stockholm. And this guy, he drives from Västerås to Stockholm several times a week, so why not use his car, stop in Bålsta, when he arrives in Stockholm, delivers the goods, we will pay him the fee that they have agreed upon. Feels quite simple, it works, it's live today, and we have reoccurring users, both on the driver's side and on the sender side. So this is an example of how we can utilize this empty space already today. So this is pretty much what it looks like. It's a web platform, so we aim to have one platform for both the senders and the drivers. A key aspect is, or has been for us, is to understand how much the cost or the value needed from drivers in order to accept a drive, so or to pick up a delivery. So we have made an algorithm, and in connection to historical data, we are now quite sharp in estimating the cost of sending a two-seat sofa from Stockholm to Gothenburg, or a TV from Malmö to Stockholm. And it should be super easy, so that we don't have a limitation of the users that we welcome in the system. Unfortunately, I don't have a grandmother anymore, but I want to build a system that is that easy, so that they can also get the precious items to their doorstep. And that is key with baggage, that it's door to door. You should not be limited in last mile deliveries. Have to go to a depository logistical center to get the items that you want. All right, so that was a quick rundown of baggage. What do I believe is the future of transportation? And from my end, it started with people wanting to buy or sell some things online. But what I see more and more is why they use this service. They may have a car, but it's the hassle of going from Bromma to Täby, or from Hisingen to downtown Göteborg, because they have 50 other things to do on their schedule. So they're really buying themselves time. And so that's one of the key reasons why we have a growing user base. And on the things to do, there's so many things there that you could help each other out. Looking at this, things to do: wash car, get laundry, buy groceries, pick up kids. All of those you could share those type of efforts with your neighbors or friends or within a community. And that's what we are striving for in the future, to expand this business. Pay the bills, that may be something that you want to, or what is it called? You let the bank do that as well these days, huh? And people love to share. You're not in the moment anymore. You're sharing with all your friends. Otherwise, you're just a big ego. If you would stand there with looking at the president and the first lady, if you're not sharing it, you're way out. So I think that has great potential, not only here, or in your social life, or if SL in Sweden now have the aspiration of being Tinder with all those people falling in love on the buses, it's great in the transportation. And why do I think that? Trade between private individuals are increasing. I think it's in the last e-handelsbarometern, estimated to grow with plus 35%, something like that, during this year. We see a lot of things on Blocket, for instance, not being sold. They are very good at finalizing transaction. I think they end 12 million transactions per year, but there are 3 million objects that's not being sold and instead driven to the junkyard. I think we could really, with excellent transportation services, increase the transaction and as well create safer transport than that of that sofa. And a lot of people are realizing that there are a lot of cars and trucks on the road that have empty space in them that we can utilize. Another macro trend, of course, getting your driver's license at a late age. That guy is not 18, getting a driver's license. Actually, that man has 84 years with a driver's license without accident, so he was lifted up. So that's also a reason why services is of need, and also cost. It is a high cost owning a car, and it's increasing. If you then could change owning a car and seen as an economic burden, you could share a car, or if you have a use of a car or need of a car, you can do some trips where you could actually make some money on the road. That's also an aspect where I believe that a service like baggage could be beneficial. So what types of services do I see now? And I guess that you guys are, these are relevant to you as well. I'm trying to sort them in a way where there are commercially or more a new take on traditional transportation, looking at Budbee, for instance, in making a really nice app for drivers, getting partners on board in order to create a better logistical system. Foodora, of course, food deliveries on in a different way. We have had Appetit in Stockholm for ages, it seems, but Foodora has a new take on it with a very low-cost model for getting that dinner home. Within Stockholm, you pay 49 SEK from one restaurant to your doorstep. So, of course, that's a service that is available for quite a lot of people. In Sweden, we have Skjutsgruppen, BlaBlaCar, growing like crazy in Europe, has a penetration of 12% in Paris alone. So that's very interesting to see how the need for mobility service can really revolutionize local markets. And then baggage and a few of our competitors or companies like us trying to connect empty space in vehicles on the road with people in need of delivery. Is that my 10 minutes? Okay. We're here. I expect services and the use of services to drastically increase. Okay.
Thank you very much. As Amy said in the beginning today, when we talked about Uber and what happened there, it's a lot of debate about the shared economy, what will happen and so on. So what is your view? What do you think will happen to the shared economy business solutions within transport?
I definitely think that it will grow. It's a good debate that we have now. of course, I'm a heavy user of Uber Pop, so I think it's a pity that they remove that, but I do fully understand their issues. In terms of baggage, or it's a tough time to maneuver and build a business currently due to lack of clarity from legislators. So a lot of companies within collaborative consumption are under audit by Skatteverket. Now Konkurrensverket will look at it. So there is, and it's small organizations, so having that administrative burden is quite tough. But for sure it will grow. For sure it will grow into new and more mature business models, I would say.
Thank you very much. Okay, it seems like a lot of people agree with you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we try to see if we can connect to Brussels now. Yes.
And really, I think when we discuss around transport overall, we have a lot of ideas what it should provide. And if we look at different policy objectives in, for example, the European Union, there are expectations that the ideal future mobility system should give us should be decarbonized. It should provide good safety, so we should get to our safety targets regarding fatalities and avoidance of injuries. Also, there is a desire that the future should bring really elimination of everything negative associated with transportation, such as congestion and emissions and other things. So these are the givens I think we have heard many times before, and then also being added to this are maybe more new items accelerated by some demographic changes due to immigration and also other societal problems. So I think what is expected of future mobility is also that it does not segregate the populations more, but really tries to be inclusive and what I call it demographic here, but typically you discuss in a more gentrifying way how to build new cities, for example. But I think it is really important to consider that even the guy who lives in a suburb and at best only can afford a stolen bike needs to be a part of a future mobility system. Not everyone will be able to afford fancy solutions with high degrees of automation or even on-demand solutions, maybe, as you know them today. Also then, we know that a lot is happening in the world and there are unplanned events. It can be natural disasters. Normally when we talk about these things, it is weather-related or, as I said, disasters, flooding or earthquakes or whatnot, but also recently accelerated by events in Europe. Are man-made unexpected events such as terrorist attacks or cyber attacks or whatnot. So the transportation system may not exactly know how to predict everything this, but possibly the ideal transportation system should be able to live with such uncertainties and handle them in some efficient way so not everything breaks down to a standstill if snow comes, for example. Also then, if we look at the role that transportation and all the industry that is associated with that, vehicle industry, service providers, truckers, whatnot, all of these groups of industries that are associated with transportation actually provide a lot of jobs. And one concern when discussing, for example, automation and further transport solutions, or maybe even elimination of certain transport modes as we know them today, that will have an impact on working availability of jobs and types of jobs that we have. And I don't think this is just a question of having the right skill, it may even be that how do you actually create so many jobs that today are, as many jobs as today are actually supported by the transportation sector. This may not be the priority of your particular roadmap, but I'm sure that you will have consultations and discussions with other entities maybe more involved in this, and I think it is a relevant aspect to be brought up, because somebody has to afford all the investments and the solutions that are thought of for the next generation of transportation, and that will obviously need somebody working so that money flows into the system. This at least this is one of, as you know, top of every politician's agenda are jobs, so we have to bear this in mind as well. And of course, it has to create industrial profits, so there is a net growth. If you look at automation, for example, every country more or less, or many countries and many places are raising their hands and volunteering to be pilots, because they expect a lot of growth to come with vehicle automation in the road sector. And I haven't yet to see that calculation that materializes how all of this is going to happen. So this in itself is a research need, I think. All right. Then if you click once more, I think there comes an animated little text saying disruptive offers and solutions.
Yes.
Yes. This is a worry in the traditional auto industry, I think, that all of a sudden there are competitors called Google, Tesla, and others. Tesla may be a car maker, but Google, Microsoft, Apple, who are jumping into the business here, and Uber and others, kind of disrupting traditional fierce as it was, but was at least some kind of known territory, and providing very different solutions. And I think this is a track that needs to be taken into account and possibly associated with what goes on in transportation too. So it is not only a linear continuation of what we have done so far, but we really have to see how these guys think and what they can bring to the table and how to interlink them. If we think about the traditional research and development, typically it starts with mapping out the needs, and then you do research and a bit of innovation, and then you try to figure out which regulations you need, and then you bring it to the market, and hopefully there is a business case still left. But these guys, I think, we can do this, and then they figure out something that they want to try out, and then they try out all the if, buts, and ands while they create the demand and the want and the desire for the thing. And this is a new way of thinking that you may also want to consider and exploit a little bit. Moving on to the next slide, you asked about the major trends that are influencing transportation. And this is a quite old slide, actually. We were involved in an EU project when I was at SAFER called CROSS, for road safety in Europe. What we did there was actually look at all kinds of trends studies, irrespective if they're safe enough, to see what are the major mega trends out there and which ones will at the end of the day be important for us to worry about when we discuss the transportation. So we did some studies and we discussed major trends, and on the next slide there are some trends, and this actually is interesting, and if this slide is now 3.5 years old, a lot is true, because what we did was to look at what were actually real trends. There is no doubt that population is growing and that we have demographic changes. So that is why they are the top. They are solid trends. Then we also see that cities are fast growing and that there are mega cities with 10 million citizens increasing in numbers as well. Not so much in Europe. Only like 2 of them now, and we have 2 more in a couple of years, but in the rest of the world. Urbanization is also quite a solid trend. Then there are other trends listed here. Climate change, CO2, and environmental concerns. They are there. Exactly the nature of this, I think, are much more under debate than that we have in population growth. So even if relevant and definitely taken into account, the solidity of that trend is a little bit less stringent than is above. And at the time when we did this trend study, energy was really expensive. Oil, we were talking about what has happened now with the oil and how we reached peak oil and the peak oil price and the steel price and everything. All the resources prices were just increasing. And look where we are now, 4 years later. Now the discussion is how much is the low oil price for environmental efforts, for example, transportation sector. Again, this comes to one of my first points, that whatever we do has to keep with these uncertainties, taking so much for granted maybe, but to think how do we handle volatility and whatever factor we discuss. There was a little trend at that time, the increased connectivity. I think we may possibly qualify that a little on the ladder here, but we know that everything is connected. Internet things is there, real, not just a buzzword, and there are many signs of connectivity and automation being more pronounced today. The other things there, from the growth was discussed at that time, that we had increased globalization. On the other hand, there are separation. And that's going to be a talk about the UK wanting to leave the EU, for example, or maybe wanting to see. So, globalization is not such a given more. And these lifestyle changes that sometimes are quoted, especially when it comes to how many wants to personal vehicle and that everyone wants all of a sudden to buy and all that. Those, I think, we can think about as expectations or things that people see happen or certain people just happen. So aspirations, they are not at all to put on the same level of solidified foundation as the population growth, for example. So my advice when you go ahead is when you look at everything that happens in the world, try to sort it a little and think where you really need to have a extremely dedicated effort, or where you can be more opportunistic and maybe flexible. Okay, moving on. I think I faced a lot of time here, but I move on nevertheless. Then I come, since you are looking more or less into what will be your future research agenda, I think I wanted to share with you also how we treated all these megatrends in Sweden. And the example I'm bringing up here is the development of a strategic research and innovation agenda. Vinnova had a call up a couple of years ago where they asked several different fields to, I think it was over 70, to gather all the stakeholders within the field in Sweden and map out what our future research and innovation needs. We picked one on road safety, and we involved lots of people, as you can see here on the slide, and Cotinho, of course, was involved in as well. And if you go on to the next slide, because that was really what I to show what said then. When it comes to transportation and traffic safety, there were 4 trends that were not the most important importance and relevance, and develop the future research programs. And innovation ideas. And those are listed here, that again, the age people are getting older. We have climate change worries. There is an increasing urbanization and this connectivity aspect for both persons in society. More or less, I think everyone can be seen as connected. And if you are not connected yourself, like my mom, 84-year-old, doesn't know how to operate a mobile phone, she is not connected at all, but she's seen the system out there when she enters someplace with camera, for example. So also one idea we played around with at that time, and I think still bears relevance, is that the future vulnerable road user may not necessarily be the one who's not protected by a steel shell, but the one who actually is not seen, has made himself for by nature is detectable, unconnected. Okay, never mind. The last slide here shows that 18 ambitions that were set out based on those 4 trends and discussion with major Swedish stakeholders regarding safety. And they are for the road user, they address the vehicles, the infrastructure, the transportation system, and then for even more societal and systemic issues. And there are 18 of them, and we recently actually, I heard they've been visited, and they are still relevant. So when asked, when I thought I should provide with some ideas on what to get for safety and transportation for the future, I think actually looking at these ambitions, which I can send to you if you don't have them already, can provide some useful input. Having said that, realize that you deal with other transportation modes than road, and I think there's still, since road is kind of has the most free radicals, if I may call it like that. You have kids who have no clue who walk in the environment, and you have complete flexibility between 2 points. So I consider it being kind of the worst case of transportation, because people are not necessarily educated, and it is not just a track that goes between A and B, difficult as it may be, but it provides a lot of interaction challenges that I think are of interest. And sorry for that.
Increasing amount of people on our earth, and also the increased share of us that are elderly. And how do you think, what will be the most effect on transportation of that we are having much more elderly people in our population?
I think this is a bit tricky to discuss. Elderly people are not only elderly people like that. When I worked in Volvo Cars, we thought that elderly people were great because they would have money, they would have time, and they would buy all of the nice cars. We would have endless desire to go and explore the world. So those were one end, the healthy elderly ones who may be well off, and then you have the fragile ones that need to be taken into account. And I think they really, we can expect that they around, and I don't think it is anyone's desire that they are just moved around in automated vehicles or hidden away, but that they are free to move. And if we move into cities with which are more dense, with a higher degree of population, I think we need to take walking and pedestrians of high age into account. Then also, well, public transportation and automated vehicles, if they ever get personalized, I think they can have potential for the elderly, and that needs to be in mind when they are designed. And also, I didn't mention that now, business aspect, the business models that make it attractive to operate and to use different new automated mobility schemes, such as different public or shared transportation schemes. They need to be adopted also to and
Okay. The sound stopped. Thank you very much, Ingrid. Give her a hand. Yes.
you have questions?
Maybe I think we need to stop here and wrap up to go to the next part on our program. Thank you very much. Yeah. And I also want to thank all of you others for all your input, very valuable for us. And I think it will be a lot of discussions also afterwards in the breaks and in near open labs and all of that. So thank you very much.